of course, the past 24 hours, just like every other 24 hours that we try to keep you updated in right here on the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM, has been very dramatic. I say dramatic because police have impounded the vehicle of a judge because of tinted permit. When the whole idea of tinted permit came up and people having to renew or pay to get that permit, we talked about it extensively right here on the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. And yesterday, Governor Charles Chiguma Soludo gave conditions for the release of native doctor Oba, native doctor, if you get what I mean. He's from Oba and he's a native doctor. I'm talking about a popular Akwakuko Tiwarake. If you have been very conversant with things revolving around that man, you would know that since his arrest, a lot has been going on, a lot has been said, and of course, we get to play you that audio of what the governor said about his release. But of course, this is the Polity. My name is Chisom Chinedu, and of course, you're locked onto Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Franklin Ebuka is here as well. Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, good morning, Chisom. When I saw that very story about a judge's vehicle being impounded by the police because of the enforcement of the tinted permit, of course, I smiled to myself and said, okay, maybe we're all being caught in the web, because
I said Osubrile.
Because when NBA was talking about the need for the police to exercise restraint for the fact that it has filed a suit in court, I don't know if anybody listened to them, but for now, of course, we have seen the enforcement. Mostly it was witnessed in Lagos, I think in Delta State too. For Anambra, I didn't get any information about how it was or how the enforcement started. But from what we have now, in Lagos State, they had some skirmishes where somebody who had already applied and his application is pending. So from what he was told, as far as his pending, he's going to be given a pass for him to do his operations and do his business. In talking about an Uber rider, but when he took the vehicle to the road and he was caught in the web, in fact, they seized his car key, and detained him for several hours, telling him that he has to go to the station and bail himself out. So this is just like a tip of the iceberg on what you have seen. But maybe when we get into the conversation, we get to know whether, if a case has been filed in court on any matter, whether everybody has to maintain status quo or they have to wait until a court has issued any substantive order before they can and respond to that. Then away from that too, let me talk about the accident that happened this very morning, because the accident was just, we made the accident close to Barren Junction barely 5 minutes after it happened. It involved a truck carrying it involved a truck. This truck that carries petroleum products. So I don't know the content it was carrying. Then the truck and a tipper. So around that Ibadan junction, motorists do drive against traffic because only one lane is accessible to them. So I don't know what actually happened, and in the process, they almost had a head-on collision because the front of the tipper is almost damaged. Then the truck is inside the gutter. Now, like I said, I don't know if it's carrying any content and the exact thing is carrying, but as we were leaving that very scene, there was already smoke coming out from the truck, and the motorboy was already run away from that very place. So it's all about an emergency situation that FROSC and then fire service needs to respond to, because the tipper was on the road.
The exact location, please.
Just a few meters away from Barren Junction. If you are coming from Moka, it's just about a stone throw to Barren Junction. So that is where this thing happened. As we left there, the tipper was in the middle of the road. Then the truck was inside the gutter. So this was a situation when we left there. So it's all about asking these very guys for them to respond to emergency and ensure that, one, the tipper is moved away from the middle of the road, and then if that truck is carrying inflammable substance, of course, our service has to come in. They have this very foaming agent they use to douse the environment so that in case of fire, it will be averted. Then we'll talk about Tinubu going to Abia State today. Talking about President Bola Tinubu, he's going to be in Abia State for him to commission some projects. A few days ago, he was in Imo State, so today is the turn of Abia State. And in Anambra State again, yesterday, INEC presented voter register to political parties ahead of the Anambra Gubernatorial election, just for them to, all of them to validate that we have 2.8 million registered voters who are going to take part in this election. And then last thing I'm going to talk about Anambra State is what the governor did yesterday. Okay, let me not say what the governor did yesterday. What became public yesterday, because the government of Anambra State has approved conheads for Johesu, or what you can call health workers. So you can also see that in the headline this very morning. And finally, I'll throw this very one up and I leave Tony to come into it. People who know Adichie Zuchuku, he's an aide to the governor of Anambra State. And yesterday, he put out a video where he said that a certain man was asking Senator Jekunife to pay him his money. And I must tell you that the whole of yesterday, it wasn't easy on social media space in Anambra State, because people have been asking questions. How were you able to do this? And how were you able to put up this very thing? And they were saying there's need for us to, exercise restraint when it comes to this job that we do for our masters, because and people have gone to put up his picture alongside Senator Kunife and what have you not. So the thing is, it's been messy. In fact, since this thing happened, I have listened to people who served in the government of former governor of Anambra State, Governor Willow Biano, where they talked about how they helped him to climb the ladder. And according to them, all of them who helped him to climb the ladder, he no longer listens to them. And what actually irks them is that sometimes he also brings them down when they want him to exercise some restraint. So this media aid thing, like yesterday, I wrote something. I said, if I say media aids need aid in this our time. So I just think that young people should know how to, draw this very line between doing what our masters want us to do, and at the same time ensuring that we do not abuse people in the course of doing this very job.
Well, when the people that made the saying, "He who pays the piper dictates the tune," I guess when they made that statement, they were referring to situations like this. And sometimes, probably the master isn't even the one dictating the tune. But these aides do what they like or what they think would serve the purpose the most. This drag has been on for quite some time now. I mean, the back and forth with the different opposition parties and media aides saying all sorts. And so I'm not surprised, frankly. I'm not surprised.
Why some persons were actually talking about was the fact that, okay, let me mention in them. Chimora, former MD of ABS, he was in Imo State the day Governor Hobozodema hosted the president. Now, the day the president came to Imo State to commission some projects. So he ran into Senator Kunife and told them we are seated in a seat, having conversations. So that was the video that was copied. And somebody did the voiceover on the video. And that voiceover is not a representation of the conversation the two of them had in that very video. But what they have put out is that in that very video that Uchemora was asking the senator to pay him the money she owes him. So this is where the problem, this is where people are not finding it so easy. And they have been asking that caution must be exercised at this point in time.
It's really sad, Franklin. And like I said earlier, probably to need the masters calling them to order for stuff like this to stop. Until then, let's go take a look at what the headlines say. And of course, Tony will be here in just a minute. The front pages of the papers we have today, we have The Nation, Vanguard, Punch, and the Guardian newspapers. And the front page of The Nation is half covered with an advertorial, felicitations from Tantita Group to Oba Rashidi Ladoja as he ascends the throne as the 44th Olubado. And of course, the banner headline here is Power Tussle in the PDP NWC, depends on page 2. Above the nameplate of the paper, CBN debt servicing slows to $2.86 billion in 8 months on page 7. On page 3, National Assembly miles one-day general election in 2027. And on page 8, Lagos State Electricity Regulatory Commission issues distribution licenses to Excel Distribution Company Limited and I&E Energy Lagos Limited. These are on page 8.
Okay, so let's look at the headlines we have on Vanguard newspaper. The front page of the Vanguard newspaper is quite scanty because of the advertorial Chisom just mentioned, coming from Tangita Security Services Nigeria Limited. And the banner headline here says 2027 polls, EU Mission 6 Constitutional Judicial Reforms. The story is on page 5. It has a rider or riders Delay of electoral reforms worries INEC chairman. Says uncertainty over legal framework could disrupt preparations. And then, tinted glass permit outrage as police begin enforcement. Another headline on Vanguard says, tinted glass permit, NBA fumes as police impound vehicle of George. And these are the headlines we have on the front page of Vanguard newspaper.
All right, from the Vanguard newspaper, another paper on our desk this morning is The Punch. Less advertorials, or no advertorial here as a matter of fact. And here we see EU canvasses urgent reforms before 2027 poll on page 7. Southwest states starting borders amid banditry surge in Kwara on page 2. The riders, Oshun, Ondo deploy tactical teams, riot police in border communities. Southwest states fortified against attacks on Motekun call. Intelligence agencies track bandits, plan containment, eliminate criminal elements. CDS charges security forces. I also saw a report where the CDS did say that the deterioration of family values are some of the reasons why we have a surge in crime in different parts of the country. Obi won't join dollarized primaries. Obedience reply article on page 27. On page 23, Electricity Act, poor Nigerians, others to get tariff relief. Rivers Funds, ICPC reviews petition against ABAS on page 14. Oluwo ridiculing Yoruba monarchy, traditional rulers on page 7. Stray bullet kills Oshun graduate after NYSC call up on pages 4 and 5. Really, really sad development there, I must say. And on page 14, NAFDAC destroys 15 billion naira fake expired drugs in Oyo. And I want to ask Franklin, because how can people be ailing and then also ailing from fake and expired drugs?
You know that I have always maintained that the issues we have in the country, or the problems with Nigeria, these problems are not just about leadership. It's also about people who are being led. Because in one way or the other, we are also corporates. Those things we do accuse our leaders of, in one way or the other, we also get involved in that. Here in Onitsha, virtually all the high-profile wines that people go to buy, they are manufactured somewhere around the corner.
You get one why I buy, Franklin. Forgive my French. It was, I don't want to call this brand, but you know this brand that's like, I didn't buy it. Okay, somebody brought it to like a BYD party.
Okay.
And you know this brand that is supposed to be for energy giving, that is like metallic orange in color.
Yeah.
Aha. A bottle of wine that is, it's like a foreign brand though. And what they now fill the bottle with tastes like an energy drink diluted to the barest minimum.
Now, do you know that some of those foreign drinks, some of these people who do these things, they go to dealers on these things, people who sell on retail. They tell them, please, if you open this very carton, don't dispose the carton. We're going to come for it, and they go for this very carton.
And they sell to them.
They go for these cartons. They buy them and use them to pack whatever they are making. Do you even know that some of the biggest brands we have in bottled water, they are counterfeit everywhere?
No, let's not even go into that.
So
let's
what they're
finish
saying
up with
is,
the headlines.
the thing is that we have refused to change, and we're asking for a change of leadership. And that leadership we're talking about will always come from us. So it's just like what we have is still what we get. And then, so let's see the headlines we have on the Guardian newspaper. We have the banner headline that says, "How Brand Nigeria Suffers for Misdeeds of Few Abroad." That's a big story on pages 4 and 5 of Guardian newspaper. Another headline says, CDS failing family system values, worsening insecurity. The story is on page 3, the one you talked about. Then another headline says, Nigeria's health system performing at a 45% capacity. The story is on page 3. You can see the picture of the Minister of Health, Ale Pate, alongside that very story. Tinted glass, NBA fumes as police impound judge's vehicle. The story is on page, I think it's on page 7 of Guardian newspaper. Nigeria 65, 2 days after independence. Bitter divisions persist over nation's future. Check page 6 of Guardian newspaper. Atiku rules out quitting presidential race. Laments PDP woes. Somebody might be tempted to ask, is anything different from what we're expecting, because anybody who's trying to expect, or anybody who is expecting Atiku to quit presidential race might be living in the past, because it's not going to happen.
Or maybe in the next life.
Of course. The story is on page 6. EU hails electoral progress amid push for reforms. The story is on page 7. And I find this thing quite amusing, because EU is the one trying to push Nigeria, encourage Nigeria to embark on these electoral reforms. No, people do not know that after every election, EU sit down to analyze our elections, and from the challenges we have, EU makes recommendation to INEC and also to National Assembly on the areas we can improve on, the areas of legal framework, or the areas where INEC can build on. And yesterday, EU had a meeting with INEC, trying to find out the level they have gone with, trying to ensure that these things are implemented.
Preparedness. And
the INEC chairman even opened his mouth to say that, National Assembly, please, you have to do this thing for us if you want the election to be better. For me, it's quite amusing that other than fighting for other than pushing for our own interest by ourselves, the foreigners are the ones who are asking us that we have to do the needful to ensure that we have a credible election. Ex-commissioner decries Kwara's insecurity as bandits abduct policeman. Okay, the story is on page 20. And then Sanusi Awoshika seek 30% representation, level playing field for women. The story is on page 7. And the last story, NAD to track 24-hour call duty limit through chief resident. The story is on page 23. And there's one story we missed out that I would like to point out to. The story is on Punch newspaper. It says Soludo approves implementation of corn heads for Anambra health workers. So these are the headlines we have this very morning.
All right, then I'm pretty sure that you've been waiting to hear the voice of Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki. He's here with us in the building. He's here to do justice to all of the stories. And good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom Chinedu. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, Anambra. Good morning, Onitsha. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. We are back in our sanctuary to do the good work of the Lord, because the work we do here is the Lord's work. We are also in the Lord's vineyard. It's not easy, because we have our own altar, and we are going to do justice to some of the things mentioned here. And I listened keenly, and I listened very well. And some of these things are things that people would like to know more about. The Genesis, the Revelation, and other things you should know about it. What is this and what is that? And we are here to do just that. Just sit back. It's a very bright morning for all of us. We say good morning to God Almighty. He make of heaven and earth for His mercies for us to be here as well. You're welcome.
All right, Tony. When you stepped out earlier, Franklin threw a question, but you didn't get to answer. He was asking you what you think about Ambassador Adichie's post yesterday, speaking about that video that had a voiceover. Insinuating some things about debt. Is it an APC thing too? There have been so many interpretations given to that particular audio, and the true nature of the video, I would say, used. That wasn't the content of the video. So why was that voiceover put there in the first place?
I think that is propaganda, political propaganda. In politics, that is known as propaganda. And for me, there have been transforms thrown between ABGA and APC. APC has been throwing, ABGA has been throwing, and they want to use it to sustain the tempo. In everything there is always a side attraction or side distraction, whichever one you talk about. Before now, it was between the same person you called and the deputy governorship candidate of APC, and it was also between him and that of the APC governorship candidate. It's propaganda. And no, if you look at APC, they will also say that they have not been guilty of that. But why we are concerned is the people involved here. Because I know Uchenwara very well. He's a fine gentleman. He worked under Willie Obiano administration. Remember, those who worked under Willie Obiano administration, they migrated to APC. And for that migration, so many people in ABGA are not happy that the way and manner they left. So is it all about we are belly fix? That kind of thing. So they migrated to APC hoping to have a greener pastures. And for those in Abga, they believe that you can't just because of your personal interest leave the party you have helped in the past, you have worked with in the past, and now you are in APC. What are you even getting in APC? So it's propaganda. And propaganda has always been part of politics. We've seen this in the United States of America. We've seen this going on between OB and then APC, between the Labour and then APC at the national level. We've seen that going on between ADC, that is Atiku and his colleagues and his going on between him and that of APC. So they threw all manner of jabs. And in Anambra State we have election. These are part of the political jabs. Political jabs being thrown. So if you look at the video in question, what the video was talking about, there was Mr. President visit in Imo State, and then according to Chenwara, I listened to a post he made about that. He was part of the advance team, and then he got to Imo State. He was with Uche Kunife, and they were discussing over a particular thing, and Uche told him that he has been absent on the campaign so far. Why has he been absent? And he was trying to explain that he has an office he's setting up in Abuja, and that has been taking his time, and he has been running away to show up money. In fact, he needs money. That he needs money. I think that's the part they were repeating in that very audio or the video, that I need money. Any that kind of thing. But it was something said friendly, but the voiceover came. It's just political jab. It's political propaganda, and every party is guilty of it. And for some who are listening, it's part of the side attraction. But those who are really critical of the very young man, they don't see it from that angle.
Don't you think that the persons who these people work for should call them to order?
No, the thing is, if you call him to order, what about those who also release things of that nature from the other camp? It's not about calling anybody to order, because everybody ditches the same thing in his own way, in his own style, and there is no regulation on the way and manner you're going to go about it. So I have seen the exchanges between APC and ABGA. There was a time APC released a statement that ABGA has bought all the hotels in Oka and all that, and ABGA released their own, that APC to the same person in question has bought all the hotels. So they are throwing jabs at all time. So it's political propaganda. If you say, let's call this person to order, will you also be able to call the other party? I'm not justifying anything. Just understand it. I'm not justifying anything. I'm just trying to say that it is political propaganda. It is propaganda. It is the jabs everyone is throwing at each other. But I think Uchenwara is so much emotional about it, that this young man, he helped him. That while he was in Obiano's administration, he was one of those that helped him to rise and all that. And we could also see this. And he ended up, the same young man, I remember when he left Senator Ifanyoba. When Ifanyoba was coming out to challenge Soludo during his first time, he threw the same thing to Ifanyoba. And when we thought that Ifanyoba will go so low to get him out of anything, during the burial of Soludo's father, I saw him exchanging banters with Ifanyoba, but they were all laughing. The same Ifanyoba, he was throwing these jabs, telling everybody that all his properties, all his investments, all his businesses, all these things have collapsed. So how can you trust the future of Anambra State to somebody who has collapsed businesses everywhere in the country, and who has been indebted to so many people? He owes a lot of. He threw all manner of jobs. He did voiceover. But when Ifanyoba came for Soludo's father's burial, I saw both of them laughing. He bent down to even greet Ifanyoba, and they were also talking. So for us to understand that, even if you go emotional about this, if this young man sees Ikunifena, you will see the way both of them will laugh.
So what you're telling us, in essence, is, Tony, what you're telling us is ignore these people. Most politicians are permanent anyway.
See, let me tell you something. It's a political jab. It's just political jab. Everybody's firing. Everybody's firing. That's just that.
And this very jab. Did you even know the amazing part of it was that when Mazi came in to amplify what I just said, and he referred to Dr. Mora as Peteri wearing content creator. I mean that was I don't know.
I missed. I don't know. When I saw that, I probably missed the joke.
If you go to content section, people are throwing jabs at the same people.
Yeah.
Because if you look at some people who are commenting, they call him as all manner of names. They called him Atinga. There's never a name they didn't know. And why you are calling him, he's also calling you. And even why they are calling Adichie is also calling them. So it's political jabs. That is the side attraction for me. And then it is comic anyway. It's for everybody to use it to relieve tension. Once tension is building up, use it to laugh. It's political jab.
Okay, since it's political jobs, let's move on to really important talk. Speaking about Governor Soludo approving implementation of CONHES for Anambra health workers, we are talking about the consolidated health salary structure for health workers in Nigeria, and the structure outlines enhanced salary scales for various health professionals. So yesterday, Governor Soludo approved 100% implementation. And that includes that nurses, anesthetists, psychiatrists, pharmacy technicians, community health technicians, physiotherapists, medical laboratory scientists, medical laboratory technicians, dental therapists, and radiographers are now going to have their salaries improved. Okay, the CONHES salary scale ranges from CONHES level 7 to level 15, with corresponding monthly salaries from 80 to 350,000 naira. There are a lot of other details to this particular development, but Tony, some persons have given various interpretations to this approval. The timing, how many days till the next election? Roughly a month and 5 days. So you think there is a political, would I call it, heartbeat in this approval?
I think if you ask me, is there any political heartbeat or political undercurrent or political denomination to this? I wouldn't say here there is or there is none, because election is around the corner and this is coming before the election. But the one would also say, is it not better late than never? Yes, people are worried about the time is coming. Let me say this for those who may not know. When you talk about CONHES simply means consolidated health salary structure for non-medical health workers. And when we talk about medical health workers, we are talking about the medical doctors and possibly the dentists. But outside these two, the people that form Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, outside those that are members of NMA, other health workers, you mentioned many of them. And just like you said, it was in 2010 that this structure was agreed. Many of us, let me take you back memory lane. It was in 2010 that this structure was actually agreed upon. And during such arrangement, it was nationally approved by the federal government in 2010. Though the whole thing started in 2009, the agitation by workers for improved salary structure for those working in health sector that are not medical doctors. But in 2010, it happened. Federal government approved it, but some states have not ensured 100% implementation of this approval. In fact, I know that the other part of it was later renegotiated in 2003 after the increment or the jacking up the minimum wage. But guess what? In Anambra State, when it was approved, P2B was the governor then. That was in 2010. He was unable to pay 100% of this implementation. In fact, it was more like a problem for the government. I wouldn't say a problem for him, because he was the head of the government at that time. It was a problem. And it also culminated in the 13-month strike by health workers from 2011 to 2012 over these salary disputes, as a result of these resistance to full adoption of related structures like these consolidated medical salary structures. So they went on strike for 13 months under P2B, because they were agitating that he goes all out to implement 100% of what was approved nationally in 2010. But why they were under strike, P2B called them back and then was able to have an arrangement with them that he was going to pay 60% of the improved salary. He was going to pay 60% of that for them to go back to their offices and go back to their works. There was a common ground. They agreed. And then when they went back to work, that 60% he was still unable to pay. In fact, I had Patrick Obianyo, who was the leader of that very movement at that time. I think he was here last Saturday. He did say something of such nature here. And he did say that even when 60% was agreed, that Peter could not even pay that 60%. He was paying 35, 40. But he was giving them hope that there will be full implementation of that 60%. Then it was so until he left. Obiano's administration continued the partial implementation inherited from Obi and maintaining payment of around 60% of CONHEX. In 2018, Health Unions issued ultimatums demanding full implementation, full adoption, with assurances from the government that issues will be resolved soon. Remember that period, there was election in 2017. Immediately, Obiano came back. They started again. But even at that, Obiano promised full implementation, but there was never signed an agreement. There was no rollout. He was able to keep it at that 60%. Remember, Obi agreed 60, but was paying 35, 40. Obiano maintained what Obi was paying, but increased it to that 60%. It had always been so since yesterday.
Till yesterday.
That was yesterday. And yesterday, you find out that the governor said that 60%, that 80%, 100% will be fully implemented. And what that means is that we are going to join states like Imo State and Ebonyi State in Southeast. I don't know about Abia State. Imo is paying 100% of these CONHEX. Ebonyi State is paying 100%. Enugu is paying 80% currently as we speak. So Anambra before now was paying 60%. But Governor Soludo has now signed an agreement. In fact, I saw the letter directing the Accountant General, in fact, copied to all the health institutions in Anambra State that 100% implementation must be immediate. So it means that we have joined the league of Imo and Ebonyi State. Enugu State still at 80. I don't know if they will go all out to 200%. So it's important for us to understand where we are coming from and where we are heading. Now, some people are saying, why did you approve this before election? Remember, there was an election that produced him. In fact, why didn't Obiano approve this? Why he was campaigning for Soludo to be the governor of Anambra State? It could have been one of the political bargain he could have pushed out, but he didn't do it. It's all about agreeing something you cannot do. But
let's look at the implications now, Tony.
The implication is that nurse that works in any public institution, the minimum, if the next in question is depending on the level, if that next is on the 0 or 1 level 1, the next will get 80,000. But if
7 to 15 actually.
What is it?
Level 7 to 15.
Level 7 to 15.
So
Sorry,
if it's
from
on
level
level
7, the next will get 80,000. That's the minimum you're gonna pay. But if that next is on level 10, level 8, 9, depending on level, and then the maximum 350,000. So before now they were paid something lower. Remember, we have a national minimum wage benchmark of 70,000. So what it means that they are above the national minimum wage. The health workers, they are above from the CONHEX structure. The least level there, from the look of things, for those who are sweepers, those who sweep, or those who do other menial works for health institutions, they would be receiving 70,000 and above. But for someone who is in level 7, as we said, will be getting 80. There are those, majority of them are somewhere around level 8, 9. So what it means that many of them will be receiving 150, 200. It's more like a pack at the back for them. It's something paid in different states, but there are many states in the federation that are not paying 100% of what was nationally approved in 2010. Remember the story I gave? In 2010, there was a revised version of it in 2023 as a result of new minimum wage. So it was adjusted with the new minimum wage to give it life. So the point is, the governor has approved 100% implementation, just like I said earlier on. It's important. The timing, people are saying it was political. He could have decided not to do it as well. But my concern is whatever that is approved nationally, we must do it here. We must do it here.
Okay, so it's quite good that the governor has started to do this for the health workers who are in Anambra State, because these health workers, most of them, they work in teaching hospitals. So one say quite good that it happened. Chisom says something that people are trying to read political meaning into this because of the time when it happened. And at the same time, Tony has been able to go back to history, which is quite correct, on the where we have been, or the trajectory we have been on this from the time of former governor of Anambra State to be unknown to the present government. But I want us to look at this very side, because from what is out there, it appears governments not just speculate on Anambra State. It appears governments in Nigeria do not normally do what they're supposed to do until when people who are involved begin to kick, or begin to issue threats, or begin to embark on strike. Why am I saying this? I think it was on this program that was on Monday that Tony reported about the shutdown of medical services at Kowu, or talking about Chukwemeka University Hospital, Amako. We reported it here, and later I had to find out that why medical services were shut down that very Monday was because Johesu embarked on strike. They were responding to a national directive by the national body for them to embark on strike because of this very conheads. And if we are going to look at the history of this very conheads in Anambra State under this very present government, sometime in April this very year, Johesu, issued what I called a press statement saying that, asking the government to ensure that it gets to do 100% implementation of this very conheads here in Anambra State, and nobody listened to them. Then, around August this year, the same union now issued ultimatum demanding implementation, promotion reviews, and even increased allowances and what have you not regarding this same thing about conheads, and nothing happened. Then they now embarked on strike on Monday. Then there was a reaction. Don't forget that before Johesu embarked on that very strike that got this very reaction, resident doctors at Amaku also embarked on strike over the residency levy thing, and the government responded. So where I'm going to is, why is it always that things that are already done with, maybe in some places the files are there, the white papers are there, or maybe these people might go for engagement with the government will not respond until these people begin to kick. And from the look of things now, I must tell you that, you see, resident doctors and Johesu, they took advantage of the election time to optimize the demand. So that issue of government not responding until there is a threat or strike, why is this in our system?
I think most times it's just that because government is looking the other way around. And if you look at these unions, that's why you have trade union. That's why you have these bodies, association. They must agitate for their own welfare. Government at different level, maybe at the national level, state levels, they may be thinking of bridges, roads, pipe-borne water. They may be thinking other things, neglecting the basics. So the need for these associations to remind them that why you are so much concerned about building roads and bridges, trying to alleviate poverty, trying to do this, we need to also have a talk on our own welfare. So you ask, why do governments most times do respond based on agitation? Why wouldn't they have done that without agitation? The idea is most times they look at the funds available and they look at it's just like when you have many people agitating for one thing or the other. There are so many professional bodies. You're talking about Johesu, you're talking about resident doctors, there are so many of them.
Even some lecturers, what on the street is that some lecturers that work under state universities have still not had the new minimum wage implemented.
So it tells you a lot. Many of them, you have to raise your voice for you to be heard. You have to raise your voice for you to be heard. But where things work, if we have strong institutions will take care of these things immediately. There is an approval without the governor activating anything. Because our institutions, the way it's structured, they are structured in such a way that there will be this imprimatur of the governor even when certain agreements have been reached. So it tells you that it is our own system. So the important thing is, because there was just like you said, it's a strike. I think whether they call it strike or not, because they withdrew from service. That was last week Monday or this week Monday. This week Monday, and I said it. Immediately it happened. That information got to me. So there is a kind of agitation, and then before you know it, the governor felt that the agitation is right. This was something promised, agreed, approved in 2010. Why haven't we have
15 years later?
That is why haven't we have had 100% implementation? But I wouldn't sit down here and blame P2B or blame Obiano. Yes, under P2B they went on strike for 13 good months for this, and Peter was trying to tell them the needs of the state, that the state at that time was faced with so many needs. So it's something that it will be gradually, it will get to them, but they were not listening. They went on strike for 13 months, but they were able to also agree something where he promised 60%, just like I said earlier on, and just that he disappointed them not implementing the 60% until Obiano came, and Obiano hinged on what was agreed between them and the Peter Obi's administration, and he was paying that 60%. But other states were paying 100, and I said here, Imo State is paying 100, Ebonyi State is paying 100. These are the two I'm aware. Enugu State, I'm aware, is paying 80 as we speak now. So for Anambra State to join the league of 100, for me, it came late. It would have been earlier before now, but it's better late than never. So they agitated and the government responded.
All right, okay.
All right.
This one is just an appeal to the government of the day of Anambra State, because of course I know that the governor of Anambra State has employed a good number of teachers, not less than 5,000 of them, ever since he came on board. But I just want to make an appeal to him. You know, the employment is quite good, quite fantastic. But I must tell you that if we also want to raise the bar in our education sector, we also need to raise the bar on the remuneration for teachers, because by the time we raise the bar, those best brains that need to tutor our children, they will come back to classroom. But where we do the employment quite good, but when what they go home with or the remuneration is not that enticing as can be found in some other sectors, that's why it's now hard for us to see men who are teachers in many schools.
Can I say something? For Anambra State, I am aware that the new minimum wage has been implemented for the teachers.
I'm not talking about minimum wage. See,
okay, you mean like topping up on?
Yes,
well, I think like Tony said, people, where we are coming from.
There are people who would like to teach, but why they are not teaching is because what they have their remuneration cannot take care of their families.
Now, can I come in here? I'll say something. You see, I'm not going to entirely sit here and act like teaching is a gold mine, especially under the state government or even under the government. But teaching is a gold mine for professionals who have the passion for teaching. I'll tell you why. I know a lot of teachers who are millionaires today. They are affiliated to government schools where they dispense their duties effectively. And then they, look outside by the private tutorings they do, the online classes they do. The point is, I understand what you mean by the government, raising the ante. But looking at where we are coming from and where we are at the moment, and also looking at other needs of the government, like Tony said, I think the government is doing fair. Maybe not there, like in more developed climes where you're teaching, like just going to class normally, you are doing well. But the state government, like I said, has implemented the new minimum wage, and teachers are happier than they have ever been to be working in the state employ. I'll tell you what, a lot of private schools are losing their teachers to government teaching. I can tell you this categorically. I've spoken with a lot of proprietaries that will tell you, since the government implemented new minimum wage, everybody ran to government teaching. But I would also implore the state government to make sure that they are running there to actually do the job and not about the money. Yes, the money is not even totally there, but it's better than where we are coming from. And while they are running in there, please let's ensure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. And also, some schools are in their need of attention. I'll give you an instance. The last time I took a trip with some friends of mine to Okpoko, a lot has been done in Okpoko. But you see the government-owned schools in Okpoko, the Okpoko Government Secondary School, the one that used to be Okpoko Boys. Go there today, Tony, you will cry. You will cry. You'll be wondering, the children who attend school here, are they different from other children in Anambra? Because their school structure is nothing to write home about. Also, this is also a shout out to alumni groups. This is a time for you to step up, And again, vandalism is a problem. I'll tell you this because, like I said, I took a trip to Boko myself. The people we spoke with would tell you that, the government is going to roof. The Iron condemned people will losing their roof. The government brings chairs.
They once the government puts anything before it, but
this term alone, I can tell you from insider information that some people went to that school losing the electric fans from the labs, the classes. The only office that was spared is the principal's office. So the point is, while we provide pay for the teachers, can we also look into infrastructure and again security of this infrastructure?
There must be community government engagement.
Okay,
these things, even if you provide security, how many security would you provide for each school? So, but once the community get involved and more like criminalize this in their own way, you find out that they will be the watchdog for some of these things. So there's need for government to call the community, get them engaged, get them involved, that this property belongs to the community, and the need for government to put this thing today. Next day, these vandals, they have taken some of these things in August no war. The second Niger bridge we talked about the other time, there were some pictures. I don't know how some people were able to picture those that were taking off some materials from the second Niger bridge.
Were they caught?
I don't know whether they were caught, but somebody was filming them from a very long, distant place. So maybe the person zoomed what they were doing, but they couldn't get to where they were doing that. So we've seen transformers, public transformers vandalized. We've seen so many cables being taken away. So communities must raise their game, protect some of these things. Most times when you are calling on government to do this, government is faced with myriads of problems. They are trying to solve millions of problems. So they are solving here, they are solving here, they are solving. Once they get to the one, you does not also mean that government cannot take care of these problems at a go. They can as well, based on their policies. But the key thing is that we must all get involved.
Okay, just a minute to add, because I understand where you're coming from, but maybe where I'm coming from is quite different from the way you saw it. Anambra State government has been able to do something for teachers. We must admit that it's quite encouraging. But for me, I'm looking at where we can do something remarkable, something quite different from the usual. I'll give you an instance. Imo State began this issue of scrapping graduation ceremonies for nursery and co, and virtually all the states in the southeast and beyond, they have keyed in, they have done that. Fantastic. But for me, I'm looking at an education where we can get the best of our hands and the best of our brains, where people will begin to compete, so that you have the best of people who can mold future generation. I think it's on this program I've talked about where I have friends who, when they were in Nigeria, they refused to teach. Other than teaching, they chose to do any other thing other than teaching. Today, one of them is in Oman teaching. Another one resigned a corporate job in Nigeria and went to Kazakhstan. I said this before. She went to Kazakhstan, finished her master's, and what she's doing in Kazakhstan is teaching. She was in Nigeria 2 months ago and back to Kazakhstan. Guess what? Go to Kazakhstan. A teacher in Kazakhstan goes home in a month with $1,603. Do the mathematics.
Okay. Your point is clear, and we need to take a break at this point. Attend to some commercials. When we come back, we'll start off with that statement credited to Governor Soludo in Oba yesterday, and from there we look at some more national issues. Do stay.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
People of Upo and the entire Anambra State, get ready for a life-changing apostolic invasion. It's Upo Citywide Crusade, powered by Upo Christian Association, with the Restoration Apostle Johnson Suleiman, live in Anambra State. A divine awakening for signs and wonders. Come and witness the mighty miracles of God in a prophetic atmosphere like never before. Upo Citywide Crusade. Theme: The Lord, He is God. It will also feature anointed songs ministrations by Ambassador Chinyere Udoma and Minister Edwin Alex. The date is Tuesday, 28th of October at 4 p.m. and Wednesday, 29th of October 2025 at 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And it will be happening live at Walter Eze Memorial Secondary School Field, former Boys Secondary School, opposite All Saints Anglican Church, Udunukofia Local Government Area of Anambra State. For inquiries, call 0903-952-1048 or 0806-297-8399. Please note that there will be free transportation to the crusade ground. Upo City-wide crusade. Come in faith and you shall see the power of God.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Bahala anyị ya niile a na-ekwu ndị niile na-emere land grabbing anyị agbaghalụ gọva, ndị niile na-aja awacha pọket na-eme ibe anyị agbaghalụ gọva. Now ama na ebe unu na-eje. Okay, ka m gwazikwa unu nke a. As for mgbaghalụ, I wish na ọ dị m n'aka. Ka m bịanụ. Get on there. Ngwa na ife anyị ga-eme ngwa geenụ ntị gezie ntị anyị nọzi na partnership kịta ọkwa ife m ga-agwa unu bụ I'm sure many of you understand it. Enwe a process nke dị for me, nwee process nke dị for the court, nwee process nke dịkwa for me ọkwa good. Ebe a nọ kịta bụ na enwere law somebody ọbụrọsọ ya ọbụrọsọ ịgba na ọbụrọsọ gente uno muyano uno muya bason kagbazi edanya gamonti o ino na kwa monte listening uno mana mbiala eba I biala eba as a reception thing okay mana you know me and I know you. I don't make work very also. I will tell you as it is. When somebody say no, never a jumper. No, this kind of mindset. Abange. Now in the Kumakia, maybe see a lot of our youths. Upon a man over when I was here, it may be see Omaka, maybe see a lot of our youths and ruin many lives. Omaka, no, it's a lie. Deceiving children, deceiving people, scamming people. And I got alo. It was imagination alo. It was the alo. It was the oku. The mbayalo. Makabu na icheyarelo. Ibo oku mbayalo. Ina asena ivinje. Which means ina atwanya ijametua. Asena ivinje je. Abure etu akobade. Abure etu akobade. Thank you very much. So, to cleanse back and bring back Oba to its lost glory. Oba eji bambo we maloba. Eju oba we ego magic we maloba. No na no pia. Yes. So, for I we put here, I get put here man, and the one got there. There is a deal. The deal will go to first step. Why never go to 15 million? Okay, I get a bit of reformation, a reform. When they go too far into that, I know one this youth. Makana fagono. Information on them whether they emanam alo balafo. Name oba. Oba oba. My benjos upon a few communities all day. Ma colos, ma icolo, ma mandotia. Does here maybe umaka na isina agasase. Umuganyala kaiso we cleanse the society. Two things. It cleans the society of drugs, kidnapping, ndị na-eje chọọ onye kpata ego ije nalị ya n'ike unu ga-enyela aka na ya. Nke ịtọ ndị na-eme ife ya awuwu a were ya ana ụmụaka n'iyi. Anyị ga-ekilin fancha na kilins ọba. Anyị kilins ọba. Now the first stage dị n'ụbụ na mgbe a chọpụtara na onye a na ife ọ na-eme nọ ife dị njọ against the law, eme ya arrest. Kita, they are going through trial. Okay, found on a court. Once email arrest, police email mother arrest. He sent there to court. After email arrest, I never get it up again. Everyone was with the judge. Any the judgment, assuming not the for, more the against, or not the against. That's when you will now be asking for pardon. Onye isi ụlọ ma ife anaka ọma ife anaka no wonder unu ji eme onye isi ọ ghọtara ife anaka. So you will then be asking for pardon because you don't ask for pardon for onye adro convicted onye ọbụrụ process a na-aga a na-ekpe ikpe na court isi ịpardon gị onye ịpardon ya meanụrụ na ọ dịgo guilty ọrịa, which means na ikpe go dị ikpe bee na ọ dị guilty before ịpardon bịa ọpịa ịghọtara ya onye isi ọ na-enye nwa na-ekwe n'isi ghọta na ọghọta ife. So the process any gọvanọ ịbanye na ya kịta bụ ị na-emezi interfere na nke ndị judiciary finish ya nkefa ọ bụrụzie na afindle ya guilty. That's when we can have this meeting again. You can now say okay, if egwu a ụmụ gụrụ if you're joining them, okay. Now, which means you have already admitted now.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
And of course, we've been listening to statements from Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo. Yesterday, he was at Oba, Idemili, Anambra State, and what actually in the Gen Z language what actually muzzed me was the part where someone said jemba oh 19. You know, I understand that you do not deny your own because yours has been accused of doing something wrong. However, Tony, yesterday that conversation with I must also say it was a very smooth conversation, and the honesty of the governor by laying things plain and bare as they really are without trying to quote them because he's campaigning and going to be on the ballot is commendable. But then this conversation about people like the detained native doctor, it's good that most of them have stopped the activities in the state, but the governor spoke so much about rehabilitation. Do you see that going on in earnest, or are they just hiding away and waiting for the tempo to die down to bounce back to action?
I think what governor did yesterday was really swift or tactical in a way, because the people of Oba, I don't know, they were making such demands. In fact, it reminds me during the time of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, where the people came out and said that Barnabas should be released for them. Barnabas that was known for all manner of treachery, robbery and all that. I'm just trying to use that analogy. And then when Pilate asked them, what will I do with our Lord Jesus Christ? And then they said, oh boy. But for them, the people were chanting, release Barabbas for them. And they were reminded of the kind of person Barabbas was. And they were still shouting, not the famma. That is okay for them. So it tells you a lot of the mindset of our people. And many people have talked about issue of orientation and value system. The young man in view was arrested based on the Homeland Security Law of Anambra State that was passed early this year, and it was activated. Not just him, there were other persons that were arrested. One from Okija and one from Bob, if I remember those names. And many have been saying that they have been under custody, that they were not granted bail. Issue of bail is discretionary responsibility of a court. Court decides whom to grant bail and whom not to. So it is not something under the jurisdiction of the prosecution, because the state government is the prosecution. The people involved, they are what? The defense or the defendants. And then the matter is before a court, a state court. So the proceedings, issue of custody, and everything is under the directives of the judge. But guess what? When governor went to that very place for normal campaign, and the people started making a demand that their brother be released, that he should pardon him, and we listened to what he replied them anyway. But I'm not looking at it from that angle. For me, it is both lamentable and deeply disquieting that the public space has been soiled by the brazen chicanery and unrepentant dishonesty embodied in the conduct of the person we are talking about. Remember his antics, which represent not merely a personal felon but a grotesque mockery of integrity and a calculated assault on those who are doing quite a lot to eke a living for themselves. Yes, there are so many things that we are, according to those who are following the case very well, that were discovered. But the governor said, I can only pardon if he's pronounced guilty. If the court pronounces him guilty, then he comes in there to grant pardon in line with the constitutional provision. But for now, that they should allow all these things before the court. It's the same thing within the Kano case. Because the Southeast governors and some other persons involved, they have been asking for pardon, but this time around, political solution. But the governor there reminded them, if you ask that I pardon him, it means that he is guilty even when not pronounced guilty by the court. That's another thing you have to take. The same thing happens to Nnamdi Kanu, because if there is a presidential pardon, it also means that he is what? Guilty of charges which he will not also subscribe to. But when you talk about political solution, whereby is not a case of pardon now, I think they may not have used the words properly. Probably they will be talking about how to release him. And one thing maybe the governor did not also tell them, I think probably we are aware that under section 211 subsection 1 of the Constitution, it gives the Attorney General of a state the power to discontinue at any stage before judgment is delivered any such criminal proceedings instituted or undertaken by him or any other authority or person. Go to section 211 subsection 1c. So, but if you are doing that, it should be in the interest of the state. Because if you go clearly to interpretation, for a state to discontinue any criminal case, it must be on the interest of that state. The Attorney General must act on the interest. So what it means that the governor can direct Attorney General to discontinue these cases before the state high court. But the question is, would it be on the interest? See, you must look at this. We are told that these DBS, they facilitated kidnapping, they facilitated, and many of us applauded the government when they went after these fake native doctors who were facilitating all manner of criminal or criminalities. So if we applauded the government for doing that, and we saw the result that once these people were arrested, crime came down, kidnapping came down, most of these kidnappers that have run away from their respective camps and all that. So once we say, okay, bring back these people now, we must ask this question: is it in the interest of all of us? So the governor can withdraw the case, discontinue it under the provision of the Constitution, but is it in our own interest? So we have to factor some of these things out. But he has said he can only do what he can in the sense that it gets to judgment, and if he's pronounced guilty, because if he's not pronounced guilty, he will be discharged and acquitted. So that was his response. All right, then.
We're going to move on to more national issues right now. There's this report that the National Assembly is mulling a one-day general election in 2027. And like we pointed out earlier, the EU is also asking the federal government to look into the judiciary doing better with the laws we have guiding pardon me, the judiciary doing better when it comes to election matters, and of course INEC doing better when it comes to election matters. Also, the National Assembly is considering the amendment of the Electoral Act, which will now likely include the conduct of all elections in one day. But of course, we have so many issues that we have looked at that should also come into this amendment, Tony. What do you think about a one-day general election? Going by how we have things going, looking at our precedents, do you think it is doable? And are we equipped for this?
It's doable. I don't
Are
want
we
to
equipped?
argue whether we equipped. We may not be rightly equipped, but the election
It is doable, but we're not rightly equipped.
We are not rightly equipped.
So what can we do to be rightly equipped?
Make certain acquisitions, procurements, training, get both the human and then the other factors, get them ready. We have election to prosecute by less than 2 years, so we can get ready before then. It's doable. And the idea is that it will save costs. It will save a lot of cost, because if you look at ad hoc staff, let's start with the personnel. The ad hoc staff that will do elections for 2 different Saturdays with 2 weeks interval, that payment can be consolidated in one. That is one. Then you also look at the equipment, and the idea is it will save a lot of nuisance. It will save a lot of nuisance, because the presidential election that usually comes first, once a president comes out, it influences the governorship and state houses of assembly election. It influences it. One election should not have influence on the other. Every election should be seen to be independent. We saw how the last general election went. Immediately, Bola Tinubu was pronounced the president. Some state governors that couldn't have won election started winning election because of the same party with the government, and then people felt that being on the part of the government, and then the campaigns were still ongoing. Because once a president is pronounced president, the governors are still on campaign. They are still campaigning. They will be telling people that you've seen the president, so the need for us to align with the president. And if we do not do, they use the outcome of the presidential election to campaign for governorship election, which is not supposed to be. So it will save a lot of nuisance, it will save a lot of cost, and it will also save a lot of manpower. It will save a lot. I don't see any disadvantage in having that election in one day. The only thing you may think of will be the readiness, our preparation, getting right equipment. And we would want a situation whereby electronic transmission, electronic collection, these things should be well put in our statute book. We must have it coded, so it becomes part of our law. It's not when you go to court, the court will tell you it's not part of the law, it's part of INEC guidance.
So part of the constitutional amendment EU is also calling for.
Definitely, the constitution will not give everything. The electoral amendment, that's all you need. Just go down to the Electoral Act. The last we had was in 2022. Amend certain provisions of the act that allows compulsory electronic transmission, and then the Electoral Act would also go on to recommend, if not for, I don't want to use the word recommend, state clearly the certain softwares and organizations we are going to use, likes of Amazon. I've said it many times here. These are people that you cannot easily compromise, you cannot easily hack, you cannot easily deal or make or have any access to them. Look at our transactions here. Most of our transactions here, they are digital, banking system digital, everything digital. 2 things they are waiting to go fully digital in this country: the courts, that is judiciary. You want them to digitize everything. Filing of court cases, filing of brief, everything digital, and then software tracking. Once a case is before a judge and somebody is trying to institute the same case in another court, it will track it and say this already exists. And most times there will be virtual argument, but it's all about having the right equipment, having the right technology. These things are ongoing in Rwanda, in South Africa, in Egypt. I'm talking about Africa, where some of these things are going on, even in Kenya as we speak. So we must show and demonstrate that we are giant of Africa. We are not giant in size alone. Even when during the independence of our forebearers and the founding fathers had thought that Nigeria would be the father of Africa, where you have United States of Africa, but we've not seen these things materialize. So I don't see any disadvantage in having the elections conducted in a day. It's going to save a lot. It's going to save a lot, and it's going to help to improve the transparency of the electoral system. So we must restore confidence in the electoral system. People must have confidence that once they vote, their vote will count, And that's why I'm talking about this issue of digitization. I've seen adverts, people shopping for INEC chairman replacement. Is one of the things. That one is constitutional amendment. That of INEC chairman is constitutional amendment, but that of electronic transmission, collation, these electoral amendments, because there's a place in the constitution that says that president shall appoint the INEC chairman. So you can't amend the electoral act to effect a change. So constitution is more superior to electoral acts. So we need constitutional amendments when it comes to appointing the umpires, the national commissioners, about 12 of them or thereabouts, the resident electoral commissioners, about 36 of them plus FCT, and then the INEC chairman. So we need constitutional amendment on that part. Then on the issue of all these new technology or initiatives or schemes, we need electoral amendment to effect that. We know what to do to make people to have confidence that their vote will count, but we are not doing that because many of these politicians go to the Senate, go to the House of Representatives, go to the State House of Assembly. Many of them wouldn't have been there, and they are not campaigning to win based on popularity or based on capacity. Their own is to think on how to rig. Many of them are there as a result of rigging. Rigging brought many of them there, and we are talking about ways and means to delist rigging in our system, and they are not listening. Because the only business they understand is rigging.
So are we going to end up having all of these recommendations be passed off as an academic exercise if the people who are supposed to implement the recommendations are not interested in the actual sense?
The people must demand for that.
How do the people demand for that?
There are so many
when
ways.
These representatives are the ones who hold the hammer and the nail.
The representatives, they have constituency, right? They are going to campaign. And many of them are going to hold rally.
The same people who are held by the juggler.
Let me take some.
Thanks to hunger and poverty.
Was it not the Pengassin that agitated the other day, and Dangote was forced?
Come on. A lot of people on Pengassin, a lot of persons who are under Pengassin earn more than the national minimum wage.
That's not the issue. The issue is I'm talking about the power of agitation. That's the point I'm talking about.
20th of October 2020,
the power
remember?
of agitation. Our people are docile. They sit back and just talk on Facebook, talk on Instagram, and then shout and then haul in shots. We don't agitate properly. Go to Philippines, see the agitation.
I wish I could agree with you, Tony, but
go to Philippines. There is agitation going on. Go to their streets.
Tony, how do you want the same people who've agitated over and over for changes that have left blood on the flag?
No.
I mean, we had the hashtag end bad governance protests. A lot of underage people were jailed. How do you differentiate between the corn and the chaff when well-meaning people go out there to protest,
not
to agitate?
On the way because once you go out to protest, the way and manner you always have it is always hijacked by criminals. In fact,
how do the people agitate now?
See, I don't want to encourage some of those things here, but we knew there are countries, we've seen that. There are countries, you know what happened in India.
Because the instances you're giving are similar to the instances of things we have had happen here.
No.
And we've seen how they ended. That's my point.
The point is that it's ended that way does not mean you have to stop it.
No. Can I come in here?
It ended that way does not mean you have to. Continuation and constant agitation for things to be done right that is what wins it. What wins the relay race? Relay race is won by consistency. It's not because you did today and it ended the way it ended. I'm not saying that people should just go out in the street to protest, but I'm saying there are certain demands that are rights, like electoral reforms. Very germane.
The issue of agitation, the way I see it, I don't see it from the point of always going to the street.
That is it.
Because I have always maintained it that we do not know that in most cases or in some cases you can get more result, you can get better result using advocacy than when you go to the street.
Exactly.
Now, most of the reforms we have now in the electoral act, they didn't come because Nigerians were in the streets. It came because Situation Room, European Union, Yaga Africa, plaque.
Yes.
They were on the neck of National Assembly, going there from time to time, presenting memoranda, presenting memos, and asking them, we have to go this very way, we have to go this very way. People do not know that after, like I said before, that after every election, people sit down to evaluate how the whole thing went, put up the problems, propose solutions, design bills, and take all of them and go to National Assembly to present.
And so it takes us
and then
back.
They now begin to make moves to continue to engage them to ensure that these things are implemented. Now, for Nigerians, the way we have to approach these our lawmakers is not always by being on social media to agitate, going to the streets to agitate. There's so many ways. These are all measures. I'm not saying that we should not use social media. It also gets result. Social media gets result. Going to the street get result. But I want to tell Nigerians that by the time we begin to change our mindset and re-engage, how do I mean? Many of us who go to our lawmakers, either to their house or who go for the town hall meeting, what they ask for: school fees, pocket money, give me bike, give me tricycle. This is what they demand. Give me money for healthcare. This is what they demand. Yes, we can say that is their need, but these are our personal needs. By the time you are asking for such things from them, they use the money to meet your personal needs. And once they have made that personal need, in their mind, they have settled you. But by the time they call you to your house, or by the time they call you for town hall meeting, and you stand up and asking, what was their position on the amendment of 1999 Constitution on so and so issue, they will know that we are following and we are listening and we are watching their step. But once we go there and ask for money, they give us money, we think, oh, he's doing well.
I totally understand what you're trying to say. I totally understand what you're trying to say, Franklin. You know, when we started the conversation, Dr. Tony was trying to explain that the Philippines, they're having a kind of engagement, a protest over there, and all of these things bring about a change. And that's why I said, if it's the kind of stuff happening in Philippines, the type we've seen happen in some countries recently, we've seen how things like that ended in this part of the world. And you talk about engagements now. How many people really genuinely attend these town hall meetings to look at legislative issues?
That's why I said we have to change our mindset. Because now, the thing is this, I have said this before. Nigeria is not Nepal. Nigeria is not Philippines. These people can come together and jettison their background and go for one common thing, and they'll get results. But in Nigeria, because we are heavily divided, once you suggest a cause, the man from the South will say, oh, he's my brother, I'm not going to join. The one from the West will say, he's my brother, I'm not going to join. Before you know it, people are going to infiltrate that and make mess of it. That's what I'm saying. We have to re-engage. We have to take a new strategy, because one, I once said that in Nigeria, leaders do not have ears. It was in Nepal that people protested, and they forced the prime minister to run away. He was rescued using a helicopter. In Nigeria, you wouldn't do it to a Nigerian leader. You will not do it to him. You know why? Because he will invoke everything he has in his resources and use that to annihilate you. Because we have leaders whose mindset is quite different. Their mindset are quite different from the mindset of those who are in Nepal and who are in Philippines. That's what I keep on saying. The moment you begin to ask our leaders that hard question, they need to respond to. Oh, we learned that you got allocation of 10 billion last month. Where did you put the money?
It means we should also start seeking information. You need to get involved to know what is happening and then start to track it.
And then we can as well form different advocacy groups. We can form advocacy groups, groups, and then use these pressure groups to demand these things. Get them registered. So it won't be something illegal.
All right, let's attend to a commercial. Once we come back, the phone lines will be opened. Do stay.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Your quality bread, Wendy's bread. For your family breakfast, Wendy's bread. I'll pack it on the doziano, Wendy's bread. Mama, papa, they like Wendy's bread. Not it on them do, Wendy's bread. Even children, they like Wendy's bread. Oh, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread. Get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread. Wendy's your bachijama. Wendy's bread,
Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, 2nd Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tandy Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
time is now. Put a call across to 0803-221-6973, 0803-87-6694. Put a call across, go straight to the point. You have 2 minutes. Let's not waste time on pleasantries. And of course, be as objective as possible. Good afternoon. Sorry, good morning.
My name is Comrade Walter, and I'm calling you from Onitsha.
Good morning, Uchenna. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. You see that that statement credited to one of the youth that Nonyabo Mwaije Agenda. Let me tell you the truth. That statement reflects the mindset of every average other people.
Okay, let's not profile people now. Let's not do that. Excuse me, please.
I didn't say all.
Can we not get about people into this? You think a lot of persons think like this? It's okay. Go ahead and air your other thoughts.
Let me tell you. I'm just coming because I'm driving at something. I'm driving at somewhere. See, it's not about profiling a particular community, but it is a statement of fact that even the way governor responded to them, he responded to them perfectly. We cannot encourage this kind of thing. Do you understand? And the community in question has so many personalities, whom their name, when you mention their name globally, their name resonates globally. But it seems that they are not doing enough to control this kind of thing. There are times one community very close to that area, they are synonymous with cultism or thereabouts, and the traditional rulers, then rise up to the occasion. So what I'm saying in essence is this: the traditional ruler of the community in question should rise up to this occasion, because this guy, the activity of this guy, has destroyed so many youth, just like what governor stated. It has destroyed so many youth. Insecurity on the rise. People refuse to go for apprentice because of the influence of these people. So we must discourage this kind of activity. The way governor presented this is, is very, very okay. Let the person admit guilty first. Then there will be a dialogue. Whether such thing will repeat itself again, because I know, not like the Tony said, that the governor has the right to direct the sexual officer to discontinue the case. Yes, but there must be conviction, so that this kind of thing will be discouraged, because many people are seeing it as a normal thing, which is not good for our society. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yes, morning to you, Chisom Franklin, Olisa Mbeki. Good morning, Honorable Deacon. I'm calling from Onitsha.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Let me just say that the case of Agua, I think what the governor answered here is okay to me. I think we really need to see it right. But he shouldn't have made some certain statements saying that a lot of things are something, because an accused is presumed to be innocent or being found guilty. So it's left for the court to pronounce either for or against. All those other things talking about, other things he attached to that statement, I think is preempting the court. Because even if we assume he's guilty, we must have to wait for the court to pronounce him guilty.
DK, other things like what?
He was saying people we hear Jimala about this and that, which is true, but I'm only trying to let the professional in some certain things we do. This case is in court, and he has said it. Are you getting where I'm coming from?
Okay, just hold on, please.
Okay.
I think he was referring to things like if you had listened to the video, he was referring to. He wasn't listening. He wasn't referring to a Apoko in every case. There are other things that are obtainable, but take for instance, people buying land and reselling. Okay, people selling land to people and reselling land. These things were things he were referring to, not actually.
Well, if he's referring to those people, better an average man will say that this guy is coming from, in the sense that what I'm trying to say is that I'm not a fan of the Aqua or whatever, okay? But I'm just looking at being professional in some certain things we do, and our comments. Let's not preempt the call. I think I'm referring that case with the issue of having land. I don't think there's no way you can compare both by the speaker, in the sense that Nnamdi Kanu has been discharged and acquitted, and there was an extraordinary rendition. So I think Nigeria, if we have the law work, they have not hijacked judiciary, and they can have no business in DSS custody.
Okay.
That case continuing on.
Your point has been noted. So I think his grievance is with the link between Kwa's case and that of Nnamdi Kanu. Interesting take. Good morning.
Hello, yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to the team. His engineers will be calling from Oka.
Go ahead, Ezugo. You have 2 minutes.
Dr. Tony is firing his shot again. You asked him if it's right for the governor to be signing that currents at this particular time. Start mentioning P2B 2010, P2B 3010. If you ask Dr. Tony, if you are a member of Apple guy, he starts telling you he's in good time with the article, he's in good time with the good time with the week. Leaving the question at hand. Just recently, the governor raised about 3 billion for use. I don't know the number one, which is 10th or 5th. When the Congress was having that protest, Commissioner of Health said that it was other political parties we are telling them to carry out the protest. Now, is it other political parties that is telling the governor to sign it now? You know that Anambra has a radio station. Most times he's tune this down a little. Thank you.
All right then. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Please speak up.
This is Akamere.
Go ahead, Akamere.
I'm calling from Fiki. My speaker has made it clear to us on what in the issue of this Akwa Okoko. I want to say that there's no how we can compare Akwa Okoko own with Nnamdi Kanu, because already court has dismissed his own case. What is holding him there is federal government. They decided not to allow him to go because they know that they don't have anything against that young man. On electoral amendment, see, we know what is happening in this country. INEC, they are having 2 weeks interval to do the 2 elections, and later you will see the reason why the complaint they give. You see the failure. You see what they are telling us, that this is the reason why this thing was not in place. What of if all the elections come in one day? Are we not going to see a lot of problems? That's why this country is not that if they want to do it, they can do it. But because of corruption and all this electoral fraud, they will not allow that thing to happen. On our agitations, we have seen a lot of things happening. 2020, we remember what happened when that end bad governance. You see how many people were killed, and up till now, we have never seen persecution. Those people who died in 2020 October, we never see anything about it again. What of the one that happened last year? We have never seen anything. Those who died, no persecution, nothing. So if you ask people to come out to do agitation, I don't think that people will come out, because they know that if they die, nobody will talk about them and nobody will say anything about it. That's why when you see all these protests, you see people are just going on their own, because Nigeria doesn't know what the meaning of protest. They don't know anything. They bring out.
You should be rounding off now. Franklin, you wanted to say something.
So that is the thing.
Hold on a bit.
Right, okay. It's not for him, because
we have to correct something.
Yes, the first person that called said the court has discharged and acquitted Nnamdi Kanu. Second person repeated the same thing, and that's why we have to come in now for us to know what the facts are saying.
Okay.
So from what we know this case has been on for quite a time, even since 2022 or thereabout. So since these court processes began, has there been any court judgment or court ruling that discharged and acquitted Kanu, or that the court ruled that the process federal government followed in bringing him back to Nigeria was illegal? So let's know what the facts are, and then when we say that somebody has been discharged and acquitted, what does that mean in law?
Okay. All right. Very key question. Let me begin by saying that appeal courts sometime around the 13th of October 2022, discharged Nnamdi Kanu of the terrorism charges brought before him by the federal government. The word there is discharge. They did not acquit him. Discharge means you are not determined to be guilty or not guilty. Acquitted is that it has been determined, having looked at the charges before us, that you are not guilty. That is acquit. But you can be discharged based on judicial or procedural error. And why the appeal court justices discharged Nnamdi Kanu was because of the manner he was abducted in Kenya. Extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria. According to them, they said it was unlawful and a breach of local and international laws, and therefore the trial court, that is the Federal High Court, had no jurisdiction to try him in the first instance. Remember, I said they discharged him, said he had the court of Federal High Court by Bintan Nyako had no jurisdiction, so you cannot try somebody to know whether the person is guilty or not. So that was what they ruled. But guess what? It didn't last long. The Supreme Court on 15th of December 2023 set aside the Court of Appeals decision, and the Apex Court held that while the government acted wrongly in the manner of Kanu's rendition, that the illegality did not strip the Federal High Court the jurisdiction. Therefore, he directed that the terrorism charges before or against Nnamdi Kanu should proceed at the trial court. So what that means for those who have been saying that the court is court they release the court discharge the court make you quit. Appeal court is a lower court to Supreme Court. Case so abuna finish in appeal court goes to Supreme Court. So for the fact that appeal court discharged him based on the way and manner he was extraordinarily rendition to Nigeria, Supreme Court set aside that. So it means that it has not been set. So somebody who says that no federal government kajia, no, nde kajia bo court. Let's be honest, because the Supreme Court directed that Federal High Court has jurisdiction, that yes, the government of the day acted wrongly by the way and manner they brought him, but it does not strip away the charges before the court. The charges they preferred against him before the court. So go back. So that was the ruling. So let's be guided by some of these things and stop having so much emotions and sentiments about a discharge. The comparison I did, I never compared the two cases, please. I said that the way and manner many Southeast governors were asking for pardon Nnamdi Kanu, that if you are asking for pardon, it also implies that he is guilty. Oh, nyedi guilty kega sisi mezeri. So Nnamdi Kanu would not even want that. He's saying he's not guilty. So if he's not guilty, what happens? Court has to determine that. But he can still not be guilty and with political solution. Man abia, when dialogue. But with that issue of pardon, don't raise pardon there. He doesn't want pardon. Can he resolve if I politically won, or the court should determine? So that is the area I made comparison, that ana your pardon nankem Nnamdi Kanu ndoba na yokwa pardon nankakwa. The same thing that Nnamdi Kanu wouldn't want. He wouldn't want anybody to ask for pardon for him, because you are a way of trying to say he's guilty. Political solution, or let the court decide. So in Kaokwa, the governor has said court will decide for when in Doba you're a pardon. So I never compare the two cases, please.
All right, then do we go straight to Facebook because we have little time? Okay, one more call there. Good morning.
Good morning, my honorable speaker.
Good morning, you're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, President.
Yes, good morning. Go
on. Of honorable the mayor.
You have a minute.
Let me first of all commend Olisa Mbeki for getting the air on the
You have a minute. You have a minute.
Yes. Let me say it categorically clear. Nigerians are suffering and smiling. The reason of me saying this is that you can see our politicians are not doing well. Most of them are not doing well. But you will see that people are clapping for them, singing Hosanna, Hosanna to them. Then, more they will come and say, this like our governor now. Everybody is saying he's doing well, he's doing well, he's doing well. Many people are crying about that. Many people are crying about having the same and all these stouts that are working for him. The same person. So I want to ask our people, if you want to be with the economy. You see, if you want to say that this person is not doing good, stand that he's not doing good. If he's doing right, he's doing right. So I want to ask our people, let's go to our voters card ready. Thank you and God bless you.
All right then, let's head over to Facebook, Franklin.
Okay, so and we have some reactions from our Facebook page. Okay, Gunnar says about people calling on the governor to release their son. What about others who were under captivity with him? If he wants to be pardoned, let him pardon all Njokite. Okay, if he wants to be pardoned, let him pardon all Njokite. Sorry, something might be missing here because but the way you wrote it is not quite clear. Then Ogochukunanya says you give them for the youth. Oh, because can you people help us, okay? Can you help us? Just try to help us so that we'll be able to put together your post, please. Then Mazi Ngurie Chikwadoro Sinachi says, I concur with Governor Soludo that the judiciary should be allowed to exercise their constitutional rights and duty because it's high time the executive arm of government should stop interfering in judgment that are still in court, thereby allowing them to be purely independent. He posted from FM Onitsha. Dr. Mrs. Molebra from Owerri says, if Rodi Atiku means well for this country, he should step down. He should support P2B wholeheartedly. P2B is a man of integrity who is divinely ordained for the task of rescuing Nigeria from the deep well of visionlessness, poverty, hunger, collapse of the economy and infrastructure. We now have under a rudderless government. Nigeria must not miss its redemption through P2B. Perhaps this is the last opportunity for Nigeria to flourish. Okay, Ugochukwu Frank says this is highly commendable and applaudable. Fake drugs are worse than poison because they give false hope of healing, thus delaying people's health progress and preventing rare care. And in Mbechobi says, please, I want to talk about politics in our dear state Anambra. Our governor should call some of his aides to order. Sawuli Obiano never supported that in his time, despite the insult he faced. He posted from Ihiala. Atiku Abubakar said he is not desperate to be president of Nigeria. If there is any truth in this statement, I think the best retirement gift Atiku will give to himself at this point would be supporting P2B, his one-time running mate, to take the lead. Atiku has been contesting and losing along. He's always on the ballot in every election. It's time for him to accept the reality that he won't be president and leave the stage with his honor and dignity intact. Thank you, Gochuku. And then Gotsulo Koye says, Atiku is actually wasting money for planning to contest for election when he knows very well that it's not yet the turn for the Northerners via zoning. It's better he steps aside for OB. Then on our people asking Soludo to release Akwaoko is a nice move, but the question must be asked under which conditions. If he's guilty, let him remain there, and if government holding him will make our youth useful in their future, I think it's right we should give government kudos on that. And then Master B says, if you want to show that you are a bona fide citizen of the country, get equipped with voters card. Let's jointly vote out corrupt leaders, and citizens should leave bad attitude of producing fake products that people consume. And then Roda Arins Bartholomew and says the case of Akwaoko is a witch hunt. For how long will this case linger? The judiciary should be given the free hand to hasten the case.
All right then, gentlemen, we need to round off the conversation today. Tony, your parting shots in 30 seconds.
I think the only thing I have to say is this issue of tinted permits, and I'm aware that the police, before you register or before you get the permit, you have to pay 14,200. Sometimes there are those that will even charge 16,000. The matter is before the court. There's no doubt. You asked that question, frankly, when we are starting. There is this matter by the SPIDEL. That is a section of the Nigerian Bar Association, Incorporated Trustees of the NBA, challenging the Inspector General of Police and what they allege is wrong with the tinted glass permit. The challenge is statutorily on the law, that how can you use a military law to enforce tinted permit? Because that tinted permit, I think, was a decree of 1991 under military regime. So Motor Tinted Glass Prohibition Act Decree 1991, which the NBA says is a military era law. And they argue that this law may not satisfy the constitutional requirements as set out in Section 45 of the 1999 Constitution for being reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. Time will not permit us to say this, but the only thing I can say is that once the matter is before the court, they can also apply for or make an application or file a motion where that the police will be restrained from going on with this enforcement drive they have started with. It happened with a judge yesterday. So
yes, in Delta State.
Of course, they can also move on and ensure they file an application, though I don't know if the case has been assigned to a judge. It seems that they have filed the application and the matter has not been heard for the first time, but they can also make certain application to ensure the enforcement does not start. So the issue is whether the military law will work under democratic society and Section 45 that allows laws that restrict certain rights, privacy, movement, and all that, which they argue in their brief that it's also an infringement. But Section 45 that set out that those laws that cut out some of our rights, that they must be seen to be justifiable in a democratic society, whether that military law satisfies that.
All right, Franklin. Thank you, Tony Mbeki, by the way, for your wonderful analysis this morning.
Okay, man. It just to thank Federal Road Safety. I talked about the accident that happened close to Ibadan Junction. So they have replied to me saying that as we speak now, that they have a road safety team from Nteje who are already there, ensuring that things are under control.
We're totally out of time. I would have loved to find out if you saw would I call it the trend of former Senator Abo having turned himself into the CIG for raping a 13-year-old. I mean, we all know Olisa Abo has been tied up to some really controversial issues, especially with stuff like that in the past, Frank.
Well, that's all.
All right, then. You try to stay safe out there. And, of course, if you've got girl children, please keep them really safe. Please keep them really safe. Do not trust anyone, family, friends. And always believe when your children tell you things are off with some of the persons you think they should be comfortable around or they should trust. The Polity is going to make a return on Monday. Until then, my name is Chisom Chinedu. Do have yourself a lovely weekend.